Hey everybody, I'm Cinnamon Cooney, your art Sherpa, and we are coming to you live Sunday afternoon late here, Central Standard Time, to share with you how you could paint for this season, this Harvest Birch Trees. On the mic today is my husband, John.
Hi, guys.
And I think we're going to have a really good time. We had some stuff earlier in the week, but a bunch of good stuff has happened, and I'm feeling kind of super optimistic. I got my new headband. So I'm feeling ready to teach art, basically, overall, live, unrehearsed, ready to go.
That's what we do.
Because that's what we do this week. Mostly this week, too. This week has been especially good for that. So I hope you guys are great at home, and I hope you're ready to paint. I have updated the materials list. There are some possible 2 colors that I may add in. I may grab a phthalo or an ultramarine to create a sage. We're going to see as we go. If I can't get it with the base palette, I'm going to pitch hit those guys. I just want to let you know right off the bat. If I do, I will add those to the materials below. And if I don't, they won't be added. And that's how you'll know in the course of all time on YouTube. If you show up to this tutorial later saying, I would like to paint fall birch trees myself. How you doing, John?
Good. I'm really excited. We've already got over 400 people here. They're just piling in. They're ready to paint some trees.
I think we're all ready to paint this painting.
I think so.
This is one I have been ready to paint for about 1.5 years now. That I've just really personally wanted to do. I like the colors. I like the composition. I like the complexity of it. And you guys have been showing me that you're up for that composition and that complexity. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to bring it now. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So that's awkward, but honest.
Well, it's time for, I think everybody's ready for birches. It's like, we're already at 420. So
we're ready.
People, yeah,
so I'm going to put my reference to the side.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Wishes.
Wishes, I do. I have wishes. I'm going to put out my wishes in the universe. I'm going to prep my painting space. I'm going to do my nice deep breathing. I'm going to try to figure out where I want to stick this so it's not in my way and I can see it easily as a reference. So hopefully you guys are in the same place I am, which is just ready to paint, relax, heal, and restore.
Yes,
to start that, on my 11 by 14 canvas here, I have put some wishes. I get those from you guys in the community. I find those on our website in our wishes forum and also in our Facebook group, The Art Sherpa Official. And it's kind of interesting. We have to call it the Art Sherpa Official because there's a lot of Art Sherpa groups. And if you've ever started an Art Sherpa group, thank you. I think that's really sweet. I think that's very nice. So my first wish is, and this is sort of general, and it's now encompassing quite a lot of areas, but this is, you know, that this recovery for hurricane-impacted areas happens. I feel like this is something like we're so far in the time that we might forget areas have been impacted very hard and there's whole segments that have not recovered. So I just want to put that out into the area that we don't forget people who are still recovering. And that's true in Houston, I'm sure in Florida, I know it's true in Puerto Rico, and many places that have been hit by storms. Elaine has some wishes for her mom, and we have some prayers for Michelle's little grand brush. We have wishes for Jenna, and for all mommies to be, and then especially for those who need strength and to have hope not hurt. So we're wishing for that. We wish that you get to a space where hope does not hurt. And then healing in general for eating disorders. In fact, I would like to add, I would love to, in my lifetime, along with the cure of cancer, I would love to see an effective treatment for eating disorders and a change in the attitudes so that this particular disorder has compassion around it. Because I think this is one that sometimes as people, it's hard for us to be compassionate around. And I would just love to see that change. So that's my wishes in my canvas today, my energy I'm putting out into the ether. And let me tell you about our materials and why we're using them. So 11 by 14 canvas board. And over here I have my fall colors. And I have some titanium white, burnt sienna, yellow ochre, Indian yellow, not giving up on that, some zinc white, some cad red light, some naphtha red. Listen, if you don't have naphtha red, you could use another kind of more base red. You can see this is just a slightly bluer red. So I just wanted 2 kind of tones of red. Burnt umber. I have some cad yellow here. And believe it or not, this is going to be my secret weapon for this particular painting is Prussian blue. If you don't have Prussian blue, don't let that stop you. Actually, if ever you don't have a color like you're like, I don't have phthalo blue, I have this one blue in my paint set, just know you might get a slightly different green, or you might have a less vibrant color somewhere and a more vibrant color somewhere else. Don't let it stop you from your creative journey. I'm going to put out my colors that and I'm doing fluid paints. My black and white fluids and some glazing liquid. Yes, I am. That's happening. I'm going to block in my painting, y'all.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
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 Mm.
I have a mess going here.
You do.
I do.
We see it.
It's just happening. Ah! Clutter! All right, I'm going to put out my paint. It's a very exciting time when I put out my paint because we never know if the caps are going to go back on. I like heavy-bodied acrylic paint. You know, guys, but don't feel just because I'm a fan of heavy-bodied acrylic paint here that somehow I'm not craft paint welcoming. I am. I totally understand the budget thing. The budget is the budget. I'm going to put out my Prussian first. Put this little Prussian blue out. I really love this color. Like Indian yellow, I just think if this is a color you can get, it's a lovely color to get. And I've been using it on the channel for a couple years now, here and there. Indian yellow. Put that out. Yay. I love putting out my colors.
Now,
put out some burnt umber.
Can you talk about the differences between yellow ochre and yellow oxide?
So yellow ochre is a earth-based pigment dug up from the ground. Yellow oxide is a hue that is nearly an identical match to it. One of them is more transparent. I can't remember which one it is. Just off the top of my head, they say I think it's oxide. Because you can see the coverage here on my yellow ochre. And my oxide is much more transparent. So I'm going to go out on that limb and say that, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong, so wrong. Yes, singing that today. So excited to paint this. I'm going to put out my zinc. You guys hopefully remember the finger test. Because sometimes zinc white can look so much like titanium white. And you can always just check to see which one is more transparent. I'll put out my naphthol and my cad red, and I think these should be good. I should be good. I've got my other backup colors there. I feel like I should be able to get through this landscape pretty well with this. You know, we're going to see. I'm definitely going to miss this so it doesn't dry out on me. That's a lot of cad. A lot of cad. I'll probably use it, though. All right, mister, because acrylic paint dries. It's its superpower and its kryptonite all in one thing. And we're going to talk about the composition of this piece. And to do that, I'm going to just grab, a number 8 cat's tongue. I am going to get it wet. Drag off the extra water. I'm going to get a little Prussian blue just lightly on my brush, almost like a glaze. It's just dusted. And I don't have a traceable for this one because on this particular landscape painting in this piece, a traceable would actually be a hindrance because there's so many trees. So we're going to really talk about how to block in this canvas and put this in. All right, but this isn't a drawing painting. This is a painting. This is about brush strokes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, there's a distant dusty buff hill. We're not going to put that in. It's visually unclear. We're going to focus instead on this gorgeous orange row. So I'm definitely going to want to take my Prussian sky. If this is the halfway point, I'm going to want to come about an inch below my halfway. And I'm going to make this loose line here so I know where that is. Right? And my sky, right, is going to kind of come down a little bit into this area so that when I put my bushes up, I'm going to be okay. And, you know, I've got another little landscape zone here. It kind of comes down and back up. And then there's even some little guys here, so I'm like, there's some bushes here, and I'm thinking about them. So I kind of know where everything is, right? When you're actually sort of landscape painting, you actually do this sort of really crazy, wonky sketching in. The important line you guys need to know is that you're not taking the sky to the bottom of the canvas, you're taking it just a little bit below the horizon line. Now, I'm going to add a little bit. Oh, did I forget to put out my burnt sienna and all that craziness?
I don't know.
I did.
I didn't see that there.
There it is. I will put it over here to the side with its friends. It will be useful. It's in the materials list. All right, so I've added a little brown to this. And interestingly enough, usually a sky is darker at the top and lighter at the bottom. But in this case, we're actually going to have a darker blue here. And then it's going to lighten as it goes up. And I'm just using my cat's tongue. And you can see that the Prussian blue, it's not the same as phthalo. But again, if all you had was phthalo, go with it. Phthalo is just a little more aqua in its base than the Prussian. There's a whole crazy history behind Prussian blue. I'm not even going to tell you because I'm maybe going to make a video about it. So see, I'm just brushing that back and forth, covering my canvas. And this is dark and ruddy and deep. And then I'm going to, as I'm coming up, just go more into my blue, like you do. See?
Holly was asking if
brushing that back and forth. Yes, Holly.
If she's using craft paints,
yes,
what are some things that she should be doing to compensate for the lower pigment densities there?
Okay.
She's wanting to know, should she be using more coats, less water?
Sometimes it's going to, don't use water, right? Don't use water to thin. Your paint's already thin enough. You're going to do less coats. You would probably come back.
You mean more coats?
I mean, yeah, use more coats. You would probably come back and lighten some of these bush areas with maybe even possibly a little white paint so that your reds and yellows would show through. Any place that you'd have yellow, you'd have to put back with white. You'd have to paint first with white because the craft paints aren't going to easily, in general, paint over, like, if you think of them in some sense like watercolor, the pigment loads are so thin that it's very tough to get a lighter color to paint over a darker color in a craft paint or beginner paint. And so you as an artist, when you're looking at any tutorial, not just mine, be thinking about that limitation and planning ahead to say, I'm going to need to put white back in these areas so that I have a nice bright canvas. You know, it would be a little bit fussy to try to paint, like sketch this all in and paint little blue bits in these little spots. You would be at it forever. I'm going to add a little white to my Prussian blue, but not a lot as I'm going up. So I want it to still be pretty dark. And then we're going to come back with this sort of fun cloud shapes that I like to do, or you might like to do as well. But yeah, that's really all it is you're just adjusting for your pigment loads. Yellows are going to be the hardest to work with, your yellows, whites, and blacks. And sometimes you can get away with a lot more student paints if you upgrade just your yellow, white, and black. And also test it. In the student market, all the paints are not equal. So, you know, your paint line might have a really terrible black, but another company's paint line might have a decent one. Feel like you could mix up the brands to meet your needs. I'm just painting this all blue. Blue, 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 blue. Prussian blue. Very cool blue. And you can just see this is just super deep. And even so, I'm just loving this. Just loving this. I'm going to definitely work the pigment through here. It's just one of my faves. And this is the only place on the canvas that we're going to see that really. We might use it a little bit to mix some sagey greens. But where it shows off, this is going to be it. So see, I have little spots of canvas that have popped. They're sort of showing through. As the paint dried, a film formed like a bubble over the surface. And then as it dries and retracts, it pops. That's a thing that happens to me in my pro paint. On your student paint, it may be just that it's not covering. So these are little adjustments that we all make. Having fun. So I'm liking that. I'm liking that feeling. It's enjoyable. I'm going to wipe my brush off, but not rinse it. And I'm going to get some of my zinc on here. You can do just white if that's all you have. But I'm going to do my zinc. And I'm going to just make some little clouds. I like to, when I'm making clouds, I like to wiggle my brush around. I'm looking at the shapes I'm seeing behind these trees. Right? So I can see that they come down at an angle. And I'm using the zinc because it won't overpower my canvas and it gives me a good transparent start. Acrylic paints get such hard edges. We talk about this a lot. I'm sick of me saying it, but they do. It's just, we get great hard edges, but these soft edges that you see oil painters get are tougher to get, but they come in very beautifully with zinc. I can come back with my cloud brushes in a minute and create some interesting definition in this space. And these little light areas are going to peek behind my trees. And it was something I have liked about this piece for a while. So you can just see I'm like wiggle, wiggle up, and then I come down, and I'm like, really what I'm trying to do is just keep my shapes random. Clouds are very random. Like teenagers, just so random. Just be like, you're a teenage cloud. I don't even know where you're going. I don't know what's up. Confusing me every day. How am I going to survive? I don't know. I was once one of you, but now I'm not, so I have no idea what's going on. That's cool. And a little happy cloud here. This is a mid-20s cloud, and is starting to figure out who it is.
It's on its cloud journey of exploration.
It's on its cloud journey, stressing everybody out less. So once I get those in, you can see that's just this beautiful soft aspect. Right?
Now, there's a couple questions that had come in here from a couple different folks. Tina had asked the last time, what's the difference between a cat's tongue and a filbert?
Filbert is a rounded brush. I've got one here. So I have a number 8 filbert here. And I have my cat's tongue here. And so basically what this is the brush is edged both. Like if you, like even more than this is, it's edged here and then it comes to a point. So it gives me a lot of this, but this is a very specific kind of finish, and I really wanted the multi-surface of all of these. By the way, all of these names are just what we felt like.
Now, sometimes
not like an official anywhere name.
Yeah, just as a point to clarify for our community. If you're ordering a red-handled Sherpa brush and it's for some reason called a filbert,
it's a cat's tongue.
It's a cat's tongue, yeah. Because the red-handled Sherpa brushes sometimes are mislabeled cats. The cat's tongue is mislabeled filbert, but we don't make a filbert in the red handle.
So I've got to layer some trees in this. I've got to put some of these trees far back in the atmospheric distance, right? Because they're among the bushes.
Among the bushes.
They're among the bushes. And one of the easy ways for me to do that is to block in some of this canvas while I'm allowing this to dry. Yeah. And I'm going to do an interesting thing. Whereas I put a little brown into my Prussian blue, I'm going to now take a little Prussian blue and stick it into my burnt sienna just to darken it.
So the blue will be among the brown.
The blue will be among the brown.
See, we're using simple English videos.
Huh?
Simple English videos. You can do
it. I have been assured I do not speak simple English.
You know what's awesome?
By experts.
We have 600 people here.
600 people are doing these trees. I know they are. I believe in them.
That means I might get to see 600 paintings.
So I'm just putting this brown value here.
Would you guys share your paintings? That would be a dream.
I have seen people tagging you. Are you
I know. I go and see them.
John's so shy on Facebook. He lurks. Doesn't mean to be lurky, but he's very lurky.
I don't know what to say.
He doesn't update his status.
If you go look at my personal Facebook feed, there's nothing on it. I mean, I don't know what to say. See, even here, I'm just stuttering like a...
I love it, though. You're the best. We're just creating this deep value that we're going to be able to really, really start to work this area. This isn't our darkest value, and it's not our lightest value, but it's going to anchor all the bright foliage that we're going to put here. And no, our actual true horizon line probably isn't level, but we don't really see the distant horizon, right? We just see what's not obscured. So this is a good space to do it. Another place I can, I'm going to come here and I'm going to make this weird little, I'm going to just get my yellow ochre, interestingly enough, right? And my brush is dirty, and I'm just letting it get all right in that yellow ochre, deepening it up. And I'm going to paint this. It comes sort of across here and at an angle. What I'm putting in, if you're wondering, what am I doing that's crazy? What I would be doing, like if I were, God forbid, outside painting. But if I were outside painting, what I would, and I have been outside painting, what I'm doing is just blocking in my value sets. I could have done an acrylic ground. This is another way of putting a first coat on a painting so that everything that comes up on it has nice depth. And it also lets me start to say, all right, I've got this light area of grass and then this sort of dark fore area of grass. Right? And by doing this, when I come back with more paint, it's going to be so lovely and easy. We're going to really rock this grass. So I've got my sky, I've got my first blocks. I just come back into my Prussian blue and get some burnt umber again. We're working burnt umber today. So burnt umber, in my opinion, is a very lovely color. Its weakness is that it's a little transparent. Fine. See if I can't manage you. Runaway canvases are not to be tolerated. I'm painting my reference photo. So if you have that struggle with your burnt umber, that's a thing that burnt umber is a little bit transparent. And I find streaky, but it's a lovely color in the palette, so I can't give up on it. Now I'm just wiggling my number 8s back and forth, like you do. Or maybe you don't do, but like I do. Going back and forth, and we are blocked in. Look at us. Just being super awesome. Locking it in. I'm just making sure that I've got nice dark values where I want to put them when I'm coming in with my grass. And I've got nice light values where I want to put. It's like a ruddy little hill.
Yeah, everybody's loving this background.
Now, so fun to do.
On our scale of 1 to 3 hoots, 1 hoot being the easiest, 3 hoots being the most hootiest of our easy hoot.
Easier, I'm hoping, than yesterday's painting.
So maybe in the 2 hoot range?
2.5, 2 3/4 hoots.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we'll go all the way into a 3 hooter.
Yeah.
We'll put it in the playlist after we assess it.
So if this could be a 2 hoot in time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just it may just take a little longer for you to eke out your 2 hoots.
I'm going to get my little cloud scumble because I feel like it's dry up here. And I'm going to come take a little of my titanium white, which is quite bright. I might actually pick up a smidge of that brown and blue mixture there just to tone it. See how it's now? It's not just pure white. But it's going to be a lot lighter than the background, so it's going to read as much lighter. And I'm going to wiggle my brush around and kind of inform some of my clouds here. Right? I've got my soft, and I can make little airy bits. So my little trick to using these is I use these a bit like a deerfoot stippler. If you come right in at the point, it can get a little worked at the point. But if you come in on the heel of it and just scumble with it and let a little bit of the pigment come off here and there, it's like a dry brushing friend. It just makes this dry brushing experience a little bit easier. And because it's rounded, it gives you some of those rounded shapes when you might find you're struggling to get them on your own. I'm going to just scumble. See, I would just wiggle it back and forth. Just come here and just scumble. Scumble, 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 scumble. Isn't that fun? And see, that just creates that nice little, still pretty soft though. Get a little of this dirty on my brush. Into my white. Just working this. So you want these to read as what they are, as clouds, once the trees are in. I love these little wispy clouds that this brush does. It kind of does these nice little whispers. And you can see I'm just scumbling on the edge, on the soft side. Can you use a square? Can you use a round? Can you use your own cloud brush? Yes, of course you can. People painted clouds before I ever made a cloud brush. So I really like the cloud brush that I made, but you guys have to remember that people painted clouds a long time, long time, with lots of brushes. I'm going to just come over here to the left-hand side, and I'm just going to just define this. You can just see that this, I push up, I push over, I see how it just wiggles around. This is one of those things, you practice it, and then you find your inner cloud like Kung Fu Panda. And it's just fun. Love it. Nope, 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 nope.
No.
And if I get too like a little sheep, I just break it up.
Now, if you're having trouble with your paint being opaque, is there anything you can do to help that?
For getting the transparent, the zinc. If you really can't get zinc, but you have like a gel, like a gloss medium, you have the acrylic glazing liquid, you could make your titanium white a bit more transparent. It won't work exactly like the zinc, but look, if I was like trapped on a desert island and I only had those two things, I'd make it work.
Now, that'll make it more thin, but what if you want to make it like more opaque, less thin?
You have to add more pigment to it.
So
that is something, yeah. So there isn't really a gel to make your paint more opaque. There are some gels that won't exacerbate its transparency, like a matte gel medium, right?
Yeah.
Won't exacerbate its transparency, make it much worse. But there aren't really ones that will just totally fix it. So, we've got those nice little clouds in, don't we? Yeah. Don't those feel like fall clouds?
Yeah.
All right.
Now, you've
missed
also,
my stuff.
You've also talked about at times you can use titanium white to help like yellow.
Oh, is that what you mean? Okay.
Well, I don't know.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So say you're painting craft paint and you have yellow, certain colors. If you come on Friday nights on Facebook, sometimes we try and do paints along. We go a little slower and we use Liquitex Basics, and I give you some tips and hacks and stuff. I might even be able to in this show. Well,
It's all right today.
Yeah. Okay.
It's okay.
Sounds like no. Don't get distracted. I'm gonna put out. This is my little thing now. I'm gonna put out a little white and a little black on my fluid paint because I'm gonna be working in some of my trees. So this is the black and white. You can use. You don't have to have extra black and white if you don't have it. You can use your black, your white. I like this because the fluidity off the paint. Where is my round? There it is. Yeah, I need rounds.
All right.
So I'm going to first put some distant trees, especially here. We'll put them throughout, but we really need to have some there. And so I've got my sky color, which is the blue and the brown. I'm going to add a smidge of black and get into my white here. What I don't want is a white tree because these are far away. So I'm going to come over here to the right.
I love how you say that with a question mark.
Oh, did I?
To the right?
I don't know. It's because I can't always remember which is right and left. I'm going to own that. So I know I'm going to have some bushes coming up around this tree. I don't have to take it all the way to the ground. I don't have to plant it the whole way if I don't want to. But I do need to grow this like distant little trunk up.
It's
now,
Oh, no, I was just going to point out it's especially fun to ask you to tell me left or right when you're looking at the camera.
Well, you know, I'm going to definitely add some little branches that are coming off of this. They're barely showing, right? Some of them are going to be more in white and some of them are going to be more in gray, and that's going to impact everything. You know, we talk about don't make forks, so if I branch something right here, I don't want to branch something right there. Make sure that you go longer than you think you maybe need to. We're just putting a few bits here that are visually compelling in the distance. You can push a smidge of a highlight in that far tree, but don't take it too far. And then we're going to maybe do another darker tree. Ooh, too dark. That tree got real dark. Just putting these distant little fellows. And they're just a little bit muted. And we have to have a lot of these little guys in the back. And they do have branches, so you're going to have to take the time to wander off branches. See how I'm doing this? Like I take a little branch, and then there's like this little bend that happens like maybe right there. And so that weird little bend tells me where to put the next little branch.
Now, Barbara asked me to tell you that you have over 600 Sherpazoids in here having a good time painting birches with you.
I love painting birches. Birches are healing.
She's very excited, as we all are, to be here with you. And this is very nice.
Trees. I got trees. You have trees, Barbara. I have trees.
I just want to say thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us, because it's not very often that 600 people get together to hang out and celebrate painting and hang out and do this kind of stuff. So, you know, just take a moment to realize that you guys are here with us doing something awesome, and we appreciate that deeply.
And you guys are awesome. I'm going to put a little more white on my brush, but not much because I don't want it to be bright white. It's still sort of in shadow, even if some sunlight is hitting it. We got it. It's okay, too, to come in, and so some branches could be white, and then because these are birches, you could actually have some black branches in here, too. Weird. They're a weird little deal. I'll pull some more white on here. You can see why I like these two. They do make my little bit on my birch trees. I always get excited when I'm doing birch trees because I can just pull these two colors out. And then I'm like, look at how much easier my lines are to make. So much easier. Make a little guy back here. Just putting some treeness back in the background. The trick will be that none of these will be as bright as my foreground trees, right? And I'm going to have lots of leaves and things happening back here. I will grab this little dirty blue and brown, add that there so it's all sort of integrated. You know, feel like you can just plant trees willy-nilly as you need. Right, these guys will peek out. These guys will find out what they need and grow as they should. Notice that my stroke works from my shoulder, comes on the edge of my brush, travels up my canvas, and I take it long. One of the things that you guys might struggle with is knowing to take your tree branches in trees as long as they need to be. Now, my picture probably has a lot more trees in the background that I'm going to do here. Because honestly, it's very busy and I'll have to simplify a couple places. But I don't want to simplify so much. I'm going to start coming and filling in some distant trees back here that I don't have the depth. So I'm looking to do different sized trunks. And I'm looking to not get into my zinc because that would help me right now. I don't know why I went over there. Just get in some different sized trunks. I'll come back with some highlights, some details, some fun stuff. I'm just trying to talk about these little guys back here in the distance, darkly growing. When this layers up, oh, this guy's going to have a little friend that grows over here. Sam, he went out to the right. I like it. This dispersion is going to create depth and layers. These objects will be further in the background. It will help our foreground focal trees feel more together. So I'd say the hardest thing about this painting is just the amount of layers. Yeah. And by the way, you can get as fiddly with this as your heart desires. There are some of you for whom fiddly artwork is very relaxing and satisfying. And don't feel like that isn't okay. I'm teaching and I'm moving through some material much quicker. But you are not under those constraints. You can put me on pause. Come back and visit me 2 days later, and that would be just fine. So I'm going to touch up just a little bit of our kind of like birchiness that we have. I'm going to take a little of my black here and kind of work it into my burnt umber with my knife. This is just a diamond head knife. And just come and add some little hard edges, little birchy bits. See how we're doing? I've got the bead on this little left-hand side, and I'm just stroking right and giving my birches just a little bit of, even though they're distant. And the heavy-bodied paint from this brown is helping the soft-bodied black work better. It's just a touch, though. I don't need a lot. And these guys are in the distance, so they don't need a lot, just so you know. If that makes sense. You're just trying to make sure that these distant little fellows start to birch it up, too. They got to join the birch party. There's a party in your tummy. So yummy. Parents in the room just went, no! I'll find you. Let you down.
I like Yo Gabba Gabba.
I do too. It's the HR Puffin stuff from my kids' generation. So see, I'm just adding these little birch-like elements, right? So you can see the birchiness. They become birch. So they're gray and in the distance. Gray and in the distance. This is so fun. It's going to be such a pretty painting. I'm just touching and tapping. So the palette knife, the trick will be for you guys to work these edges, right? And if you really, really hate this tool, I mean, just go through with your little detail brush and put them in by hand. Like, I'm not going to come in and be like, did you use the knife? Well, you didn't use the knife. But I showed you this little knife thing and you didn't use it. All right, so when I feel like I have enough birchiness here for these to be, you know, birchified, I gotta start putting some of these distant leaves back here and some of this faraway stuff. And again, as colors are coming forward, they may be brighter, so I have to be thinking about that as I'm mixing them. And I'm going to probably do my number 4 cat's tongue and sip a cup of coffee and say, look, it's a totally barren desert with a cool blue sky.
It's like there were some sticks here after a forest fire.
Yup. How are we doing, guys? Are we
Good.
birchified?
Oh yeah. No, everybody's. This is pretty cool. As a matter of fact, Jay LeBlanc just said, "Love this birch lesson. Painted 12 of them last time, and and his cinnamon's 5 birches, and I'm into them."
Okay, there's like
Sorry.
done. That's awesome. I'm so glad for that. So this is my number 4. I'm getting some water on it and dragging off the extra. And I think I'm going to actually take a little bit of my Indian yellow and mix it with my cad. So I'm going to work these two together. I'm going to come into, so see how the little Prussian blue and the brown, I'm kind of like dirtying this. To get into that. What I need is, I do need it to be distinctly yellow, but it needs to just be knocked back a bit, as they say. Ah, there we go. Got it. So it's super wonderfully yellow, but I got to knock it back. And I'm going to start just tapping this. And this is still not even deep enough. All right, let's get right into it, man. Let's not even play. Maybe even get some burnt sienna. I need to get right into it. There we go. Oh, I like that. So it's the burnt umber, burnt sienna, Indian yellow. Got it. Perfect. Nice. Shade fall. So you can see that combo gives me some decent coverage. Most of my clumps here, most of my leaves will be in solid clumps, but you need to leave air for birds to fly through or Brisbee to play in the trees. If Brisbee can't play in the tree, you've made a lollipop.
Right.
You want to avoid that. Now I'm just tapping my brush, and that texture is kind of talking about leaves a little bit. And I'm just hitting the edge of it. Look, there we go. So that's actually helping me create that sense of my leaf, and I can get some burnt umber if I need to in that to knock it back. These deeper yellow leaves, right? You've got to, these guys are certainly more in shadow. I'll be working the Indian yellow today. It is okay to search a minute to find your color. If you make those color charts we did in the Big Art Quest, you're going to find that you may already have things in your paint box that work. I'm just leaving openings.
Now, I was just reading
get a little
back
cad
through
in here.
some of the questions here.
Okay.
Let me get back in here. Is there, if they don't have, is there a good substitution for Indian yellow?
A deep yellow, like if you have cad deep.
Okay. So,
Indian yellow is special, but it's not a deal breaker. If all you've got is yellow ochre and cad yellow, work with that.
gotcha.
Don't not paint because you're missing some color. You know. But the only reason I'm like super adamant about telling you what I'm using, one is so you can follow along, and two, I don't want to ever kind of misdirect you guys and be like, oh, I used some secret color that I didn't tell you about, so, you know, because I didn't want you not to paint it with me, but it's sort of how this was awesome. You know, it always seems kind of rough to me. See how this is even somewhat transparent there? That doesn't even bug me. Right? Getting a little of my cat in that and just letting each little space be even not completely uniform if necessary. All right. Sometimes I got to move my brush around, just tapping out some leaves. And I'm looking at my picture to sort of get a sense of leaf form. And yeah, I'm painting out some of my design work that I put in, but it all layers up together. And it's by these deep, distant leaves layering over the new leaves. I'm going to sip some coffees, enjoy my headbandies.
Your headbands. Man, chat's been hopping today. We've got, it's we had.
I'm still coughing. I'm sorry,
you're
guys.
Still coughing. So yeah, we've been hovering right around 600 people here. This has been very exciting.
Birch it up.
So
Harvest
thank
the
you guys
birches.
for coming around and hanging out. And of course, all of our lovely moderators have been hanging out with us here today, helping everything. So we thank you guys for coming and being part of this.
I have to say something.
Sure.
So on occasion, you guys may see me around in other people's live streams because if I'm just on the computer and a notification comes up to somebody that I happen to be subscribed to, and I'm subscribed to a lot of people, I may go by and visit and see what they're doing because, one, I totally appreciate what it takes to be live. And I kind of like to be there and just thumb up somebody, even if I'm quiet in the room, and just give them a thumbs up and a tweet or something. But going around seeing other people's lives, I have to say that you guys have made a community here that I'm so proud of. We have so much positivity and so much support for art, me here, but also other artists. And there's just, thank you for the shade-free zone. I so appreciate it. Like, every time I'm out and looking around, I'm like, wow, the community is, like, insanely cool.
Yeah.
That was my soapbox. I'm getting back into my color.
I love our community.
My soapbox, which I had picked up a little more cad yellow because, but I don't want it to be too bright, or when I come back with my real cad.
That yellow's such a cad.
It can be. It totally, totally can be a bit of a cad. Can be a bit of a cad. Trick, you can get a smidge. You're just feeling like a rebel. A smidge of your cad red. Warm up some of these amazing little spots of leaves. Just keeping this from being, And you can also, like, get darker. Like, here's a little black on there and my yellow, and I've got some leaves, but they're super in the distance. It does not hurt you to push some shadow into your faraway tree space, right? So feel like you can if you need it. And there's a lot to do, so I'm going to put it in. And it's just really about looking at not the individual leaves, but the shape that segment of tree is making, if that makes sense to anybody. Each tree has, like, I'm just wiggling my little brush. I kind of like that there's a little green cast. Speaking of, like, around here we can get, like, if you want a little more green cast, you just pick up a smidge of depression, and you can make sure that some of your leaves are, sporting that. The trick is just to make sure that there's a depth that starts to take place here. And sometimes when you're looking at a thing like this, you think you've got to paint every single branch in this hot mess. And I think for me, I don't feel compelled to do that as an artist. I think I feel compelled to just sort of tell the overall story. Not get too befuddled into the minutia. So I'm just, like, getting in these little shapes. Now what's great is I've got this set of colors. I'm going to come over into my zinc. And I'm going to talk about some highlights in these distant spaces. You can get a little yellow, you can get a little, but my brush is dirty, so it's not going to be the brightest, right? all of that. Ooh, that's nice. Little cad red. The thing about the zinc when I go into it is it doesn't over lighten what I have. And I'm imagining, I'm looking at my light source here and I'm just making sure that I'm giving these guys, little Indian yellow, the light source that they're showing me that they have. A little bit there. These little distant bits will be fun. I'm feeling better. You guys are on my feel better journey. Woohoo! Well, got a lot of white there, but I don't care. I'm just gonna see. Even if I over zinc it, I don't have to worry about it so much.
Oh.
Hmm.
DH was just asking a good question.
Oh, I love good questions, but they're all good questions. But I love good questions.
Are there tutorials for pine trees or Christmas trees? She hasn't had a chance to do a search yet.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, we have
so many.
Christmas is just around the corner, and there's a whole collection up on our website. It's coming together just for Christmas. So you should go out to our website, check at TheArtSherpa.com, and we'll make sure that we put up some links to the Christmas stuff here off of the main page in the next few days. We'll get some stuff up there.
So let me get just my CAD and my zinc.
I'm not sure exactly where it's at. I'm going to go look. It may already be there. So I'm going to go check. It may already be there.
Let's get some CAD going. Some CAD. And then it might be nice. I'm going to tone it. And believe it or not, with the CAD red light, I'm going to start warming. Oh, this is just so gorgeous. Start warming some of this up. Oh, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? What is me? It's so beautiful to me. I just make sure that I'm enjoying that space. Fun stuff. So you've got your CAD yellow and a little of your CAD red to warm it. This can actually feel sometimes, even though it's quite a hot color, cool on the palette, especially against some of these other colors, which are so to the orange, so to the red. So by getting some of that in there, it gives you a chance to get some of those pops of colors you're definitely going to want to have in here. Now, I really like this space here, so I'm going to keep focusing on that, which is my CAD red light and a little of that. And I just want to make sure that as I'm pulling these trees forward, that this is the color that I'm loving so much. And I see like I gotta darken you, so I'm gonna come in and darken that
now,
up a
I
bit.
just found the link here and dropped it in chat for DH, but it's TheArtSherpa.com/Christmas. And that has a link to all of the Christmas collections.
And we're about to do 12 Days of Christmas, but much more inclusive than that title actually sounds. How am I doing? Let me look. Oh, see, we're starting to build in those distant leaves. It's really quite enjoyable, right? So we've got the blue, we've got the distant leaves, and now we get to have this super fun sauce. We're going to get our number 8 out, and we're going to start we're going to sip our coffee, and then we're going to start putting in these bright fall bushes, which are the bomb diggity.
Yes.
So I'm going to put a little of my burnt umber back out. Got my burnt sienna. I'm excited to play my naphthol, my naphthol red against my CAD red light. And I'm really thrilled to be putting in this kind of row right here of these bushes, these great ups and downs and stuff like that. That's super exciting to me. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little of my brown out. I'm going to get a smidge of my blue and even maybe a smidge of my black. All right, here we go. Getting a deep color. And let's first start. I'm just going to kind of wiggle my brush here. You can let some of the kind of trees that you've got going peek out. This totally comes up on a rise. So I've got my number 8 cat's tongue. I'm working my Prussian blue, a little of my black and my brown. See, I'm just sort of doing this little circular wiggle stroke. And I'm looking and observing my little line here that I've got. This comes up a bit. I'm just creating the depth that these bushes will spring out of. There could be like a nice little high bush here. Distant trees. Because we're going to have another little weird row. We're going to have some bushes, a couple trees that hit in the middle, and then a forward row. So you're really talking background, middle ground, foreground on this painting is key. Just make sure that we've got this nice little row that we're putting through here. More trees will be pulling forward. We know that, but first we've got to kind of think about what we're putting in. I like it, I like it, I like it. Now, you can always go back if you want to. I've got my brush like totally dirty here and be like, hint that there's a trunk that you're seeing here and there, see? In the bushes, if you want. I gotta get that white off. Totally fine though.
Nice.
Rinse your brushes. Scumble that out. Don't even mind. So you can keep things, you can push them back. You're all good there. As soon as I have that in, I'm going to take a little of my cad yellow into my cad red light, and I'm going to make some very distinctive cad orange. I'm going to add my burnt umber to that cad orange. I'm going to, just with this same 8 brush, I'm going to just touch this, right? Creating just a dusting. Brush pressure super light. I'm not doing big circles. I have to let some of the deep value remain, right? Just brush some of this in, man. Put that in. What's happening here? That's just,
Oops.
we're just dusting this. I'm just touching and dusting. I'm just trying to, kind of like plaza, I'm just creating little spots that this is. Just to start talking about what I'm seeing here in these colorful little spaces. Now, I'm going to actually go into, I'm going to get my burnt umber and into my naphthol and make even sort of a deep red here. I'm feeling like there's some very dark. Just pulling this in. We'll have to come put some deep values down here. Or just, I can see there's a little bit of this red bush here. Comes up. I'm going to pull this over my brown line because I want to soften my brown line. Everything okay? Am I just going too fast?
You just sometimes you point to the right and then move to the left.
Oh, really? I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. You'll jump right over there. Just do like one touch and then move to the other side.
It's, you know what? Because normally I would just be like sitting here looking at this going flip, 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 flip. But that's not useful for teaching. I have to kind of move forward in a progression. So what I kind of want to have is a very relaxed, muted, warm bush bank that I've started to talk about. I'm going to rinse my brush out a bit. And I'm going to take my Prussian blue over to my Indian yellow and add a little burnt umber to it. This little guy right here, I want to just say that in this area, among all this sort of orange space, is something that's sort of deep green. We're going to add some green highlights to it in a second. And we're going to make sure it's not some nice round shape, because bushes are never convenient like that. They do their own thing, man. They are their own biz. Right here, let's deepen this up. I'm going to take my brown and my black if I need to. Right? And let's make sure that coming through here, down to here, all of this at the bottom of these bushes, see I'm kind of pushing that in. My black and my brown. I could put Prussian into it, but I'm out, so I don't care. But we just want to make sure that this is just deep, deep value. That's quite nice. So see how that's just going super deep? Go super deep, like chocolate rain. I don't know why I made a Tay reference. It's just really weird. Probably because he's a deep voice, and that's where my brain went. So now I'm kind of shading this bank, right? So I know I have some light that's dappling down here. I'm shading my bank to get to it. It's going to be really pretty. I'm sipping my coffee.
So
because when I do my zazaz, I need to be ready for my zazaz.
So Miss Jess would like to know. Miss Jess would like to know, are you trying to paint the exact amount of trees?
No.
You're painting an emotional amount of trees?
I'm painting the amount of trees that pleases my sense of design and eye. You, when you're painting them, I'm going to show you how I get all these trees painted in at each layer coming forward. You may sit there with your reference photo, which is why you get to have it, and paint in every single branch that you see, and that is an acceptable thing to do in your landscape painting. Or you may be like, these trees are the ones that are important to me, and these other trees just are visually noisy, and I'm going to edit out. Yesterday when I edited out the grass, it was like a super good thing. I needed to edit it out. I'm going to dry my canvas real quick.
Okay. So while she's doing that, I'll say, wow, thank you guys for hanging out. Squirrel, yep. We got to leave room for the squirrels and the trees. So thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us today. It's been really nice. We love having all of our community to come and be with us on days like this. It's very special for us to be able to celebrate and just do painting with you guys. So thank you. Yeah, you know,
Yep.
it's just awesome.
It is awesome. I'm going to grab my burnt sienna and a little of this naphthol. I'm going to add a little add to it. Kind of create a really rich fall red, but that has just a little more pizzazz than everything we've laid down. I've got my number 4, and I'm just going to tap out some little leaf textures. So I'm just tapping my brush in, and I'm also sometimes adding a little wiggle to it. And this is creating some uneven texturing. I'm going to let some of this be distant. I'm going to pull some of this down here. Saying that we've got little, what this really is little banks, clouds, right? And not clouds, bushes. Little banks. Let's
Clouds, bushes. It's really just paint on a canvas.
paint on a canvas.
It's
Aren't
an
we all just all
illusion.
paint on a canvas? So I'm going to get into my Indian yellow as I'm going, and maybe my zinc so it doesn't get away from me. All right, so I'm going to take this color I'm working with, but I'm going to warm it with my Indian yellow. And I'm going to put some of this warmer, more yellowed bit of mutedness over here. I'm going to soften this edge just a titch. And that's why I've got the zinc. If I did the titanium white, it might be a harder edge. Not a mistake, it's just a choice. You guys have to just make some choices. So I'm down here, and I'm adding a little beginning of highlights. We'll be pulling some real details forward. Let's get warmer here. Let's take our dirty brush, but get a little cad red light and a little yellow, but still do the zinc. Let's talk about this sort of brighter orange bit of kit that's happening here. Right, there's a little brighter, this little guy here. He's a little brighter, right? The play of this particular piece that's so beautiful, I'm bringing this bit, I'm going to kind of cascade it down. This particular bunch of leaves sort of comes down at an angle. I am dry brushing, and you can just see this sort of wiggle, 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 push up, push around. I'm just using that to hide some of the brush strokes, but not completely. I'm still being painterly. Let's add a little pop there. Let's take a little of our red and our yellow and come right here. And oh, I want even more red though. I'm going to get a little of my naphthol because I don't want it totally where I took it. Totally, there we go. Just dotting some dots here. Just a little bit. I'm going to be dotting these dots a couple of places, so I'm going to come here and dot some of these dots here as well. Isn't that great how those combine together? I'm just pressing those bright orange colors out. Let's get some of that pop here. I'm loving the pop, even up close now, which usually I don't like anything I'm doing up close, but I'm kind of enjoying this a lot. Some of this soft, some of this tapped in. All right, let's see how it's looking. Back up, back up. Yay! Starting to glow, which is the goal. I'm going to get a little more yellow on my brush. Haven't rinsed it though. I'm going to just tap some of that in here. Some bits, not a lot. Some bits of that in the center light. Now, let's get what's left of our Prussian into that light orange. So we have that light orange there, and we're getting a little of our Prussian. Talk a little bit about this distant green fellow. It's going to be peeking through. And I think it's sort of important. Right. Some of the orange comes off into the green, and that's okay. I want those variables. Taking that down. Now we're cooking with fire. So let's see. Now we've got that kind of bank. What do we need to do? We need to give ourselves some more birch trees to work with. You're like, more birches? Yeah, totally. Like, and I'm not totally like more birches.
Now you need the full frontal birches.
I need some more birches. I need some mid-range birches.
So we're in the mid-range birches?
We're going to mid-range our birch.
Okay.
I'm going to get my brush wet, drag it off. I'm going to put a little more Prussian blue. Just a smidge. I won't need that much for the rest of the painting, but it's nice. And again, I think it's how I'm going to get to my mint sage that's right here. But I'm going to take a little of my brown Take it over to my Prussian. Get a little black, get a little white. Now we've got that nice gray, birch gray. But this one, these I want to be lighter than what I put in. Not all the way white, but lighter than what I've already put in. And they're going to be like right here. A little more defined. A little more thought out. Trunks are going to be a little wider. They're going to be wider and wider. Some of the branches could be white. Some of them might be black. You have to decide. Actually, just do exactly what I'm doing. I'm just putting in some branchy mess here. All right, little friend. A little friend. Make sure I've got some of these guys brighter than the ones in the back. I'm gonna wipe off my brush, and I want to get white on there, but I don't want pure white. So see, I'm still just contaminating it a little bit with the gray. I don't want to take out all the birches I put in the back because I've got to have them to show the atmospheric perspective of the distance. I'm gonna definitely put a little guy right here. Little guy right there. So some of these guys come out in like these really intense clumps. You have to decide, are you going to talk about those? This is a very interesting one here. I'm still letting the white get tinted or toned. And that's so that I can, one, add a highlight if I need to. And also I've got to have some couple forward facing guys. I'm going to probably do this in 3s instead of the 5 I'm seeing here. Now when I'm making these trunks, I'm going to make sure that they're going to be thinner going off the canvas than they are coming on. So they've got it, the thickest part of the trunk needs to be at the ground. And I will just use my little palette knife in a minute. Growing these little guys up, building up my birches in my birch forest in this colorful painting. How is everybody?
Very good.
Birching it?
Yes, very much birching. And I have been pretty active here watching the switcher, so I haven't been
Nice.
reading my chat as much here, but I will try to sneak over here and see what we've got going on.
There's a lot happening with the switcher. I don't want to pull you away from that.
No, I think we're okay. I just you've been pretty
right
pretty active getting some of these birches in, so we've been.
I try to be. I like my birching. There's just a couple more birches. Like once these guys are in, then I'm gonna pull some more forward birching.
Yeah, if I think that daylight savings time has been messing with a lot of people here today. That's the
Dude,
a lot
it messed with us.
Yeah.
And then YouTube like full on did not seem to know what time it was. It was like reporting all kinds of times. It was like this time, that time. World clock has destroyed me. So crazy when something so powerful in your life can go through something like that. I'm just taking the time to make these like how I'm pleased with them. So I might be going around just making sure my coverage is good and the base of what I'm painting is nice. You know, it's okay to do some branches. But remember, some of them will be, you know, sometimes birch branches are really dark. So you've just got to be figuring that out, like what your zen is. I'm just trying to make sure that we have the tree feel here. And I want to get a layer of grass and a little more bushes in through here, and then maybe put in a few more focal birches like right here. So one of the next tricks I'm going to do is I'm going to get my palette knife and I'm going to birch up my trees again. So I've got my brown here. Might even grab some of my mist. I'm going to get a little of my black. I have a nice palette knife thing I can tap. When I have that mixed together, I'm going to do a load, which is just really scraping it from the left to the right, which creates a little bead. And then you just tap a little of the birch texture onto your tree. Again, you can just come through and hand paint this if this just gives you angina. I'm super comfortable with this. I am super comfortable with this. You don't have to be. Sometimes I push off my palette knife and reload, and that's just that bead.
You want to
Right, let me
flip that
pick.
over there so I can just turn that. There you go.
It's just this little roll of paint. Just a little roll of paint. I'm going to make this guy in front of this. Just tap this lovely forest in. Get another little bead. Again, you can just do little, you can just make little lines across. You can dry brush with your brush. Whew. Chin up the trees. Just enjoying telling the story. See how those are feeling? Birchier, which is what we were going for. Now, I'm going to get into maybe my lighter white. I'm going to add.
Now, if you weren't comfortable using a palette knife, what brush would you suggest they experiment with?
I would get a bristle brush.
A bristle brush.
Yeah.
Now, would you use a round, a flat, a filbert?
I would use a flat. I would use somebody like this. See how this is natural bristles?
A little bright.
Mm-hmm. A little bright, a small one. I would dry brush it, and I would go like this. See? And it does a different thing, but a similar thing. I've seen people come in with a little detail brush, and they literally just paint in every little marking.
Mm-hmm.
There's not like a wrong way about that at all.
Now, what are you using there? A round?
I'm just using my number 4 round in my white, and I'm just putting some branches in this space. I would like to see. Some stuff. You know, making it woody. Woodsy. The branches can be lighter than the tree or darker than the tree because that's the nature of birches. I don't want to take out all my detail. I'm just adding enough of this texture so people are like, oh, this is like very involved woods, right? While I'm here, I'm going to get a little of my burnt umber and a little of my black, even my Prussian. I'm going to come here. I'm going to also take this brush and add this texture. Start this sort of layer texture. I got to hit some grass texture through here for this layer grouping, like a little strip of it. And then I've got to also add some more bushes. So let me put out some more burnt umber. Burnt umber, come here. Talk to you. We need some dark grasses. Need some of you, some of you. Just load it on here. This is the first layer. I don't want to take out everything I've already painted in. I just want to make sure that this is starting to be talked about in this space so that the play of textures, right? I'll bring this right here, dark, maybe down to a bit of a point, and then pull back up into this little guy. I'm just flicking up, okay? Licking up. Flicking, 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 flicking little clay. I don't know what that means. I'm just in a really weird space.
Good space.
Good space. Well, I really love blue and orange. Just making sure there's some dark, you know, distant, sort of upward grass flicking textures that you would have. And then I'm going to come through, I'm going to take a little of my Prussian and go right into my ochre. This is almost a gray over a green. It's crazy. I'm going to just make sure that there's this layer here. Just enjoying this little layer. This is going to be my deepest color in this set. Be sure that you don't just get too one direction with your grass stroke. I can't go much past here because I got to put some trees right here focally. More yellow here. Just be happily brushing this upward. Happily, happily, happily. To ochre. So that was loosely mixed, and the ochre coming off was too bright, which pulls it too far forward, and I want to have control over where I'm going to add those highlights. So I took my Prussian blue and a little of my Indian yellow to create a more dried out summer green and added that to my yellow ochre. I'm still creating the layers. So I'm just flicking. I'm going to come back here just a little bit. Grabbing some of that. Making sure that I'm coming through here. Now we've got a lot we're going to be doing right there. So my next thing is I'm going to get this sort of gray green color, add a little titanium white to it. And also a little Indian yellow. This is going to be my dry summer grass. I'm going to just make sure I've got this happening right here. That's my titanium white. Pushing this up a couple places. Let's take this through here. Just enjoy taking that through here. I love painting these autumn colors. So you can see sometimes when I'm flicking, I flick to the left. And sometimes I go to the right. And I just try to make it seem like wind is blowing, that stalks are not bending all the same way. And I'm layering across here, because this is sort of like a ribbon of light. Now, interesting thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come get into my CAD yellow, but my brush is dirty. Might even add some zinc to it. I'm going to, in a couple places here, not everywhere, put a very light amount of this very kind of yellowed color. Because I really love this in this picture. The way the yellows were pulling against the other colors. Got a little crazy there. Okay. If I get a little crazy, I'll just come back with my deeper color and tone it back, see? So I'm getting that there. Let's see how those are, they're starting to layer into their background, right?
Oh yeah, they look really good.
Guess what I got to do? I got to
Layer?
give some leaves up here a little bit, and I got to give some bushes down here a little bit.
More layers.
More layers. So I'm going to take my burnt and my naphthol. I'm going to make sure some of my bushes encroach a little bit on my trees and down. Right? There it is. Just encroach a little bit. You even have a little bit of bush there, right? These guys have a lot going on. Right in front of that. I'm going to make sure that there's some, even there. So I will take this brush with the naphthol and the CAD orange. I'm going to tap right here. So I'm just dotting. Now I'm talking about these little individual bits of thought that are happening in this forest. Layering it up. Layer, 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 layer. Put some layers here. Oh, but I feel like here, right here, it could be like this warm yellow. I think right here we got to go right into the CAD. Really lighten it. Kind of just tap this out. Just a little bit there. Tapping out some details. Let's see how our details are looking. So now we have the next layer of details, which is kind of involved to get, but you got to get them.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a little of my cad red light into my yellow and just knock it back a smidge so it's not bright, bright yellow. And I'm going to make sure that I'm pulling forth some leaf bits up here. Just a little bit, right? Over here on the right-hand side, I'm going to pull forth some, like maybe some branch canopies that are coming down and across here. This is the cad red light and the cad yellow. Let's make sure we've got some of this definitely coming down. Lovely right there. Looking. How bright. Oh, we're doing good. We're actually not that far from done.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
This is coming together.
It just comes together. It's just, I'm going to paint the harvest forest today. I'm going to paint it. Yes, I am. Just a little orange. And then I'm going to wipe my brush a bit and get some more yellow on it. Maybe even a smidge of white. More. I'm going to tap some little highlight leaves. See these guys? They're catching little sparks of sunlight that are happening, aren't they?
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to miss what they had to say. Looking. Ah, it's looking good. Fun stuff. Is everybody liking?
Oh yes, very much so.
So we're just up here in this upper region, and I'm tapping. When you're new, you might be like, where do I tap? How do I do? One of the things that you want to do is you'll want to make patterns. But try to do that thing. You know how if you stare at wood and you see a face in the wood? Try to stare at your painting and see the shapes, the random shapes that have happened that remind you of the trees. I'm going to take a lot more of this right here. Just enjoying that. Love the brighter color. It's happening. See, the canopy is starting to feel lit up, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
And I like that. I'm just trying to light up my canopy. I don't want to take out all my low lights because my lights won't pop, and I just want enough of that where it will pop. I'm going to get back into my other orange. And interestingly enough here, I'm going to maybe even tap out some leaves there onto that white mix. Put a few little bits of that highlight right there because I like it.
So Sherry says this is her favorite trees painting yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Thank you, Sherry. I think it's coming in really well. And I think when we get our focus trees in and then our forward grass, this whole landscape is just going to feel really nice to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is really nice.
I'm loving it. I'm back into my my round. I'm going to get a little black on my brush. Maybe not that much. That's a lot of black. I'm going to get a lot of white. And I feel like I'm going to plant my focus trees right here. Just in front of this grass. He's going to come right on up. Even in front of those leaves. That's crazy, I know. He's going to be probably my widest trunk. I'm going to just stroke that down. Widest. I'm just trying to make him the most prominent fellow of my painting.
So, Miss Jess was asking, what do you mean by focus trees?
So as we come forward, there will be trees that become the focus point of our painting. So photographs have different compositional elements that a photographer works with because the objects are there. And then the photographer tries to find the harmony within the objects, right? And get a composition that is balanced. As a painter, I can totally cheat and say, like, this photographer probably would have loved there to be maybe some more focused trees, but this was just beautiful and that's where he was at. We, however, can be like, oh no, just you two. It's all about you. And that creates elements of structure and drama in our painting that we as painters can really enjoy. You know, and then if you're lucky enough to be a photographer and a painter, you get to play with both elements.
I see.
All right, bring another little tree trunk down here. A little smaller one. It's a buddy. Kind of coming behind his friend. See how he's coming behind his friend? His friend's going to be in front of him. All right. Now I'm going to get a little more black on my brush. I'm going to just, I don't want it to be dark like the spots that I'm going to make, but I want to make some dappled light on my tree. So that needs to be just a gray that's coming down the trunk. Maybe up here at the top. That's some little dappled light. And then a little bit of a shadow on this back side. I'm going to wipe off my brush and I'm going to grab some just white. We'll make sure that we've got some pops of some white here, of the pure titanium white. Coming down both of these guys. I'm going to make sure this one is darker than his friend here at the bottom so that he is tucked behind. See how darkening him tucked him?
Yeah.
If you darken him, then he's got a shadow, then he's tucked behind his friend. So not only the placement of this object being more foreground, but also that shadow helps push that guy back. Grab some of my paint and I might even get just a smidge. This is a little trick here with my Indian yellow. Dust it on my brush. Just a smidge so that my white is warm against this cool. I'm going to add a warm bit of sunlight on those trees. Can you see it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Sometimes when things are real high hat or they're real light, they can be hard to see. I want to make sure that we really see the sunlight that's right there. And then I'm going to just get into my little black and I'm going to pull some, maybe some branches. Let's go white. The black is going to really show. I'll pull some branches off this guy. Some thought out, considered branches. They go in front of friends. wipe off. Just want to make sure it's nice. Maybe some little filtered bits. Okay, filtering it up. Fun stuff. So these guys, I will actually take my brush and I will.
Now, which brush are you using? Is that a number?
I'm using my number 4 round.
Number 4 round.
I'm going to make these. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first hit it with my hairdryer, do a little bit of palette knife, and then the detail work. And that's what's going to marry how I've done my background texture with my foreground. So give me 2 seconds.
Sure. Well, guys, thank you for coming hanging out with us today. It's a really nice Sunday afternoon. And as everyone was asking earlier, if you go out to theartsherpa.com/collections, we'll try to catch a link in the iCard or in the description below, one of those places for you. But if you go to theartsherpa.com and go to our collections page, you'll find that there's things for Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all the different holidays of the year. And if you go to TheArtSherpa /Christmas, you'll find all the ones for the upcoming Christmas collection. So.
But we're going to be more inclusive than Christmas.
Well, it's not just Christmas. Yeah, it's just it's the fall holiday. And, you know, because we did a lot of Christmas last year, it sort of came to Christmas collection. But this year we're doing a bunch of other religious and non-religious holiday, Yuletime funnery.
Like you do.
Like you do.
I'm just working my palette knife a bit. I'll still come detail some of the tree, but I didn't want to not have a similar texture that was through the whole thing. So now I can come back and make sure that I've got some focused round bits, or just making sure that there's just a little more detail on this guy here, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Just using my round, making my little bark marks. Little dashes, little round bits.
That's how you know the dogs have been here. The bark marks.
All right. I'm going to, well, I've got my brush with some black on it. I'm going to take some brown. I know I'm going to, around this trunk, put this deep, deep grass right here. Make sure this comes forward too. Everything's got to dry before I put the brighter highlights up there. I got to make sure that this is real dark right here. And then I might also make sure that I've got a very dark spot here. It's coming in this corner. I may have to get into my bigger cat's tongue.
The bigger cat's tongue.
Get into my cat's tongue. Not even mess with this, man. I'm still going to do the grass stroke, not because I'm painting the grass with a cat's tongue, but I just want the brush stroke to imply the movement. And I just need this to be somewhat darker, and I'm going to come back with some lighter stuff. All right. Dry, so I can take a little of my CAD light and a little of my yellow and just across these two. And then I'm going to get the yellow and the white. Right here. Just tap those highlight leaves in. Right across here. Now those trees are the focus.
Nice.
They have the most light on them. They have the focus. And all I've got to do is some grass, which is fantastic because I like doing grass. So my green for this, and I didn't need to get my other colors, is going to be from my Prussian blue and my Indian yellow. And I might add a little burnt umber to the base green, and I'm going to come here. These grasses are going to be more brown, more dry. They have a slight green hint to them. Enough for me to be compelled to maybe add a little bit of it into the painting. Right? But not so much that they're overwhelming the space. And more yellow. There we go. Got it again. Perfect. Just letting it go. I'm just going to keep painting this dark value. I can come down here a little bit. It can even go in front here because this is quite dark right here. And it had some green. Not a lot of everything. And let's take a little bit of it over here. Just a smidge. Marry it into this grass. Little layer, little layer. See how now my lines are becoming more defined as they pull forward? I'm going to not wash my brush. I'm going to get a lot more Indian yellow on it and some white. Give that some of this. Maybe a couple of these bits right here. See that? Very light. From here. Oh, a little thought of that. Just light, happy little strokes right here. You give a couple right here. They can come high. This little highlight. Look at that. That's beautiful. It's nice to create some variance in your highlight where things are not all the same height, right? Because they don't grow in that process in that way. So my burnt umber and my yellow ochre and a lot of my white is going to make this almost unbelievably beige. Little grass color that we have, doesn't it? Just brushing this very lightly. It's okay if it picks up a little of the color in front of it. It just helps it. I'm going to need to leave this dark right here. But you're going to want to give some of these highlights in there. Sometimes get a little more yellow into it. There's some of this right here. Some of this highlight here. Just pulling that forward. I'll wipe this off. You know, and feel like you can, you know, get your brown right here. Pull some of that into that space. Now, I really liked the sage. So I'm going to see if I can get the sage. So I'm going to say Indian yellow and a little of the burnt umber. Yes, that's a nice sage. Take it more to the yellow. You don't have to go to some crazy color mix to get it. See how we got that nice sage there? I might, to get these lovely fellows, turn to the side here. I'm going to tap this, like this. See how this is tapped? Bush has sort of a little round mound aspect. Dip my brush in water if I need to. I need to leave room for my sage to have a very light highlight aspect. Take this up in the middle. There we are. See this tap and pull? This is just a round brush. This stuff sometimes gives you guys like a little concern when you're doing it. I'm just moving this up here. So normally I would move my canvas up so I would not have such a difficult time. I may scumble this right here to this edge here. So I have this basis, right? And there's another little peak of sage that I can talk about, which is the blue and the Indian yellow, a little burnt umber, and some white. So I can sit there and say there's some sage bits peeking right here, coming up and peeking. This incredibly bright, and also, by the way, look what it does. It creates that focal into this set of trees. Now, more Indian yellow and a considerable amount more white. So guys, look at this. We're gonna put some highlights on this plant, right? Not everywhere, just some places. I'm gonna get some bright right here at the tip. Building up where the sunlight hits this. It's going to be super important. All right, let's look at it. It's big. See if we feel like we nailed some light.
Oh, yeah.
If we got some painting in there, if we got expressive, how we liked it.
Now, everybody's been commenting they like the painting better than the photo.
That is pretty nice because that's a pretty special photo.
Why you hold up here? I'm gonna go over to that, and you hold that up for them, and then I'm gonna come over here so we can get a nice full screen.
That's really nice of you guys.
Yeah, that's really nice there, and you can see that compared to the.
No, but that's a way we can paint it. You know, do this one.
You gotta sign that still.
I do. Do this one. It'll only take you a couple hours, right? Well, maybe not. I don't want to put that out there because you guys will be like, it took me so long.
We're just under 2 hours. We're about 6 minutes, 5 minutes from being 2 hours here. So we kind of scooted along on this one, didn't we?
This is a nice little landscape. So I would say, yeah, this hits the 2-hoot range. We hit it in 2. Techniques weren't that crazy. We got some nice colors. I think we had some nice birching. I am pretty happy with that. I think that was a really good fresh paint. I'm hoping you're happy with your result at home. You know, remember to take your time. Remember to build up your layers. You're doing the sky first. You're blocking in. You're building the distant trees. You're graying them out so they seem farther away, right? And the trees that are coming closer and closer and closer are going to get brighter and brighter and brighter. You know, you can do lots of stuff to pull the trees forward, like highlights. Don't forget to highlight your leaves on your trees. And remember to gray out the deep shadows in those bright, bright leaves so that it can feel bright to you. I so appreciate your time this Sunday. I so appreciate you. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And I want to see you at the easel really soon because we've got to paint something pretty exciting, I know, on Thursday.
Mm-hmm. Love you guys.
See you really soon.